Our story starts with a jolly old man, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we must set the scene. So, for today, we will stick with the two foundational characters. The story is that of the first modern monarch, a man seen on the American side of the pond as the archetypical tyrant, and on the British side of the pond is Farmer George, who grew to be the embodiment of the national spirit and morality, the human incarnation of John Bull. Born Prince George William Frederick of Hanover, or Prince Georg Wilhelm Friedrich von Braunschweig und Lüneburg, a prince of a line tracing back through the mists of history. One story says the house traces back to Attico, the advisor and friend of Attila the Hun. Another story says the house began with Publius Attalus Attimaeus, the physician to Augustus Caesar. Not to belabor the point, but our Georgie was, as they say, well pedigreed. Now our Georgie had a plan for reform Britain. Gone would be the moral excesses of his grandfather's reign. Britain would be a moral kingdom, and the royal family would lead by example. So upon the death of his grandfather, George II, the very first thing our Georgie did, he broke up with his mistress. Next, our Georgie ascended the throne of no less than 5 sovereign states, an ancient claim of a sixth, and an imperial office. The United Kingdom of Great Britain, Ireland, France, the Lordship of Man and the French Isles, the Herzog von Braunschweig und Lüneburg, Kurfürst des Heiligen Römischen Reiches. George's next step in his grand plan was a wife. Now, the wife is where our plot really starts. Georgie hunted for a partner, but as in all things, there are rules. She, for it had to be a woman to have heirs, a lesson learned by several of Georgie's ancestors. She had to be, above all things, Protestant. In our Georgie's time, to be Catholic was to be Papist, the early modern British equivalent of fascist. Right or wrong, there we have it. A what? Second, she, remember, we're hunting for a queen, had to be of royal birth. Georgie, your crush, Sarah Lennox, well, her father was only a duke, not even a royal one. It just isn't the done thing. The high court figures, including Georgie's grandfather, George II, had advocated for Sophia Carolina Maria von Braunschweig-Wolfenbüttel, but Georgie refused, as he put it, to be Wolfenbüttelt. So Georgie searched on. Georgie's mother, the Dowager Princess of Wales, and the Queen Mother, Augustus of Saxe-Gotha Altenburg, truly wanted her niece Frederica Louisa von Saxe-Gotha Altenburg to be the next queen. She was the daughter of the Duke of Saxe-Gotha Altenburg. Others suggested a Prussian princess. Eventually, the Dowager Princess of Wales invited the daughter of the Duke of Mecklenburg-Schwerin to become the queen. Gentle listener, you may ask, why is the Herzog von Grunewald-Grundemark more royal than the Duke of Lennox? Very good question. Short answer is because. Long answer, and since this is designed to help our gentle listener welcome the embrace of a Morpheus, and Morpheus enjoys the enumeration of livestock, it follows that the trivia of the order of precedent regarding the early modern Germanic Adler would also be of interest to the Dream Lord. The Dukes of Lennox have a dukedom, not a duchy. There are only 3 duchies in the realms of our Georgie. In the French Isles, which, by the way, we call the Channel Islands these days, there's the Duke of Normandy. That's our Georgie. Oddly, and in the interest of sleep-inducing trivia, during the reign of our dearly departed Queen Elizabeth II, she was referred to as the Duke in the Channel Islands. But we digress. So the other two duchies, Lancaster. The Duchy of Lancaster, rarely referred to as a title, is the property of the crown. So our Georgie is also the Duke of Lancaster. The third duchy, also rarely referred to as a title, also is the property of the crown in our case. Our Georgie was granted the title of the Duke of Cornwall and held it for 9 years before he became king. He granted this duchy to his eldest son after that son's birth in 1862. We will get back to the son later. But the other 33 dukes did not hold duchies, merely dukedoms. The difference is simple. 33 dukes held titles. In our Georgie's time, as in our time, there are only 3 duchies in the realm of the British sovereign. In the Holy Roman Empire, or as Georgie's contemporaries put it, in the Germanies, there were as many as 74 sovereign duchies within the Germanies. Not all of them are Protestant, but far more than in Britain. And none of the duchies in Britain have been held by those not of the royal family since time out of mind. So if you're looking for an inoffensive Protestant woman of royal sovereign blood in Europe in the 1700s and 1800s, the Germanies are your only Tinder match. In the interest of fair play and trivia, we should note that the reign of our Georgie laid the foundation for the Britain of the future. Yes, the American War of Independence was lost, and several of the American colonies formed the United States. This was also the catalyst for the formation of the Second British Empire. Canada began from the aftermath of that war. British hegemony in India solidified. Our Georgie and its various governments invested in and encouraged science and technology. The British Agricultural Revolution, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the exponential growth of the Royal Navy and its infrastructure, significant reforms of the British Army, the strengthening of the constitutional monarchy, including the reinforcing of the supremacy of Parliament. But to return to our more important story, our next character tonight is Sophia Charlotte von Mecklenburg-Strelitz. In the interest of trivia, I have a few points at this stage. There are 4 branches of the House of Mecklenburg, and they are the only sovereign house within the Germanies of Slavic origin. That may be why they are the only sovereign German house to feature a heraldic animal sticking out its tongue. Mecklenburg-Strelitz was a small duchy on the Pomeranian coast of the Baltic Sea. But back to our story. Sophia Charlotte agreed to marry our Georgie. A few basic facts about Charlotte as she became known. Queen Charlotte is occasionally referred to as the first biracial British royal. 500 years before her birth, Queen Charlotte's ancestor, Alphonse III of Portugal, had a son with his Moorish concubine, Madranga Mor Alfonso. Their son is Queen Charlotte's 13th grandfather. Quite a bit back, I know. But contemporaries such as Sir Allan Ramsay painted Queen Charlotte with African features. Vice Admiral Sir Alexander Cochrane referred to the Queen of England as a Negro woman in British propaganda during the War of 1812. In a more trivial note, Queen Charlotte lends her name to several named places: islands in the British Columbia, bays in New Zealand, fortifications throughout the First British Empire, counties in 4 American states, several American cities. It is also worth note that a genus of flowering plants were named for her, Strelitzia. Queen Charlotte is often credited with introducing the German tradition of Christmas trees to Great Britain and her colonies. While an arranged marriage, by all accounts, including personal letters and journals, it was an extremely happy one. They shared a love of music, especially that of Handel. Our Georgie and Charlotte shared an interest in art. They patronized several artists and craftsmen, such as Reynolds, Lawrence, Ramsay, Weil, Hemming, Capability Brown, and many others. Our Georgie and Charlotte had a rather successful marriage. 13 of their children lived to adulthood, 7 sons and 6 daughters. Next week, we will lay out the foundation of the great British baby race.